Have you ever wondered how Ndindi Nyoro turned from being Rigathi Gachagua's worst enemy to somebody the deputy president is publicly praising? Well, in this episode, I will share with you why I believe Ndindi Nyoro, the MP for Kiaru, really played Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president of the republic. In fact, I'm persuaded that thanks to Ndindi Nyoro, Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, has found himself in the political problems he's facing today. If that is a subject you are interested in, I urge you to stay tuned. And if you're watching for the first time, take a moment and subscribe to this channel so that you don't miss subsequent videos. Otherwise, let us jump right into the subject of today. I said that several months ago, Ndindi Nyoro was the enemy number one of the deputy president, Rigathi Gachagua. But how did that happen? A brief history. On the day the deputy president was unveiled at Karen, the president, then deputy president, made two important statements. The first statement was that the president and his deputy will retire together, meaning there will be no room for political conflict. They will be focused on serving the people, and when their term comes, they will go home together. Together was the word, which I want you not to forget, was that they would use the 10 years to mentor young leaders. One of the young leaders, ladies and gentlemen, is one Ndindi Nyoro. He was mentioned by name. So after elections, and the president fulfilled his promise of making sure that the office of the deputy president was powerful, using Executive Order number 1 and 2 of 2023, he gave the deputy president real jobs. He chairs cabinet subcommittees, is in charge of donor funding, in charge of devolution per se, in charge of independent commissions, and so on and so on. So the deputy president was fully busy and engaged on issues of delivering the plan. On the other hand, Ndindi Nyoro, even when other leaders were being poached to be ministers or to be cabinet secretaries, Ndindi Nyoro was left in parliament because he is one of the people who were supposed to be mentored to take over leadership come 2032. Leaders, young leaders, that is, having seen or heard what the president had said, what did they do? Simple. They coalesced around Ndindi Nyoro, whether they were leaders from Nyanza, whether they were leaders from Rift Valley, whether they were young leaders from Coast. They coalesced around Ndindi Nyoro. You would find Ndindi Nyoro being invited to Bondo, to Kwale, to Rift Valley. Ndindi Nyoro was like becoming national, but very fast. Okay? He was getting national acceptance very fast because leaders were seeing the president had said these are the type of people they are going to leave power to. And so young leaders were coalescing around Ndindi Nyoro. So what happens? Other leaders would even go to Kiharu. Yes, other leaders would go to Kiharu to benchmark. And so the deputy president was like scared. You wouldn't think he would be concerned, considering that it was okay and Ndindi Nyoro should have risen. But it seems that the deputy president changed his mind and he also wanted to vie for presidency come 2032 or maybe 2027. I don't know. But for some reason, the deputy president changed his mind. He looked at Ndindi Nyoro's rising star as a threat. Ndindi Nyoro coming from Murang'a and getting the acceptance within Mount Kenya and across the country was something that if the deputy president was to vie for presidency in future, was going to make it impossible for the deputy president to vie in future. So what did he do? He launched a full-blown war against Ndindi Nyoro. If you're associated with Ndindi Nyoro as an MP, MPs would say they would receive intimidating texts. Some were abused. Ndindi Nyoro was painted as a project of State House that had been put there to undermine the deputy president. So the deputy president left the national roles that he had and focused solely on Mount Kenya, trying to appease them, trying to appear as a better leader than Ndindi Nyoro, who was now a project, and trying to portray himself as one who is fighting for their right. And so he focused on Mount Kenya solely at the expense of the entire country. And people started seeing this and were like, are you the deputy president of a region? But he couldn't see that because for him, Ndindi Nyoro was a threat. He considers himself the senior-most politician from the region who should naturally be the kingpin, but he was seeing some young man being propped, in his own words, to take over. And so he couldn't allow this. So he went hammers and tongs against Ndindi Nyoro and fought this man. He would even go to Rift Valley to warn MPs and warn people that he thought were using Ndindi Nyoro against doing so. To make matters worse, the senator from Muranga and others came together and declared that Ndindi Nyoro is their leader after Ruto. And this really got the deputy president worked up, and he now intensified his war with Ndindi Nyoro. Interestingly, Ndindi Nyoro withdrew quietly. He just withdrew from this war. He never fought back. He just withdrew from this war quietly. He never fought back. Once he was sure that the deputy president was now reduced to a regional leader, was now fighting to be a regional kingpin as opposed to being the deputy president of the entire country, Ndindi Nyoro knew he had won. He had won because he would concentrate on his MP issues and the national budget at Parliament. The deputy president was now focused on the issues of Mount Kenya. He would now be, oh, Mulima this, Mulima that, Mulima this, Mulima that. And so Kenyans were like seeing a deputy president who has now demoted himself to a regional leader, who was now fighting to be a regional kingpin. Ndindi Nyoro withdrew. And once he withdrew, the deputy president didn't know how to continue with this fight. He was so deep into the kingpin issue and regional politics that he could not leave. So what did he do? He looked for new enemies, the likes of Ichung'wa, MPs who are not going to obey him, MPs who are not going to kneel down and toe his line. He became so obsessed with galvanizing the region around him. Ndindi Nyoro, on the other hand, had withdrawn. He was no longer party to any of these things. He did not even care. I'm sure Ndindi Nyoro did not even sign the impeachment motion against Rigathi. And guess what that got him? When the deputy president was recently interviewed on Citizen, who did he say was a good leader and has a brighter future and may be a president in the future? Ndindi Nyoro. Ndindi Nyoro, who was his worst enemy, is now the person he praises and calls a friend and a better leader. And, picture this, ladies and gentlemen, in the event that Rigathi Gachagua, the deputy president, is impeached, he has the support of Mount Kenya behind him, especially the voters. Who do you think they will see as their next leader? Ndindi Nyoro. I'm sure even if the voting for impeachment was to, even during the voting for impeachment, I'm sure Ndindi Nyoro will either abstain or vote no. Because if he does so, he inherits Rigathi's base. All that Ndindi Nyoro now has to do is just to continue sitting on the fence on issues of impeachment and issues against Rigathi. He needs to continue looking like this good man. And what happens next? If Rigathi was to be impeached, that means he can never vie. He can never be appointed to any position. Who do you think is going to inherit Rigathi's base? Ndindi Nyoro. If you asked me, Ndindi Nyoro laid a trap for Rigathi Gachagua. Rigathi Gachagua fell into that trap. And Ndindi Nyoro then just sat and saw Rigathi Gachagua destroying himself. And today, even that Senator Newton, who was really pro Ndindi Nyoro, is now pro Rigathi, dying with Rigathi. So that way, Rigathi Gachagua feels like Ndindi Nyoro and his friends are now his new friends. But in reality, he would not be where he is now if it was not for Ndindi Nyoro playing the political game. You think Rigathi Gachagua would have gone to fight for the control of Mount Kenya if it was not the fear that Ndindi Nyoro was going to take over? I don't think so. And so because he feared that Ndindi Nyoro was going to take over, he went and became a tribal chieftain. And becoming a tribal chieftain when you are the deputy president of the republic is unacceptable. It's not even according to the law. So what happens? Those are one of the grounds why he's being impeached. And he's being impeached because of something that Ndindi Nyoro trapped him into. And that Ndindi Nyoro is now one of his cheerleaders, somebody who is not openly cheering him, but Ndindi Nyoro's friends are now cheering him. But Ndindi Nyoro is sitting in the fence, watching how things will go, and ready to inherit Rigathi's base. I think, ladies and gentlemen, hapo tunasema Ndindi Nyoro alicheza kama yeye. That's my view. What do you think about that? Do you think Ndindi Nyoro played Rigathi Gachagua? Or Rigathi Gachagua just decided, the deputy president was just so much interested in being a regional kingpin as opposed to a deputy president? If you found this video useful, please subscribe to the channel, drop a like, and even let me know your views via the comment section. Otherwise, thank you. Let's meet in the next video.